You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hey, all you music lovers out there, welcome to Alan's Record Bin. My name is Alan. I bet you never would have guessed that. I am one of the co-hosts of the Modern Musicology podcast. And on this little show that I do, aside from Modern Musicology, I pull things out of my pretty extensive music collection and tell stories about them, where they came from, the story behind the songs or the albums, why they're in my collection, that kind of thing. This time I've got kind of a special show for you. Now, a couple of episodes ago, I did a focus on Ace Frehley back in April, and that came up on his birthday. So I wanted to feature 5 killer Ace Frehley songs. I'm going to do the same thing this time around, but since this episode comes out on July 12th, which just happens to be the birthday of Miss Christine McVie, I wanted to highlight some of my favorite songs from throughout Christine's career, both as a solo artist and as a longtime member of Fleetwood Mac. Now, if you've listened to Modern Musicology enough, you know how much I love Fleetwood Mac. You know that I love all eras of Fleetwood Mac, from the early blues days up through the later years and all the crazy lineup changes that they went through and the crazy stylistic changes that they went through. But I feel like Christine is sort of the core of that band because she was there for so long. She sort of wrote out all these different lineup changes, and she was the most consistent hit maker in that band. More than Lindsay, more than Stevie, more than Bob Welch, more than Peter Green. Christine, partly because she was in the band the longest, but also because she was such a phenomenal pop rock songwriter that she just really kind of dialed into the mood of so many different decades and so many different stylistic changes in the band. She really is the critical force, I think, behind Fleetwood Mac. So we're going to take a little bit of a look at her career to celebrate her birthday. She was born Christine Perfect, and she was born in 1943. She started playing piano at the age of 4, but she started to get serious about it around age 11, and she studied classically from that point up until the age of 15. But at the age of 15, she heard her first Fats Domino record, and she became completely enamored with rock and roll. Now, of course, she is best known for her many hits in Fleetwood Mac, including but not limited to Over My Head, Say You Love Me, You Make Lovin Fun, Don't Stop, Think About Me, Hold Me, Love in Store, Little Lies, Everywhere, Save Me, The Sky's the Limit, and many more. We're not going to listen to any of those songs in this show because what I want to do is sort of focus on some of her deeper cuts, both as a member of Fleetwood Mac and as a solo artist, and going back to her pre-Fleetwood Mac days. So before she was in Fleetwood Mac, she was in a blues band called Chicken Shack, and she played on their first 2 albums, but left the band because she and this guy named John McVie, who I'm sure you've heard of, got married. And her worry was that with them both being in 2 different bands that were very busy and toured a lot, gigged all over the place, that they would never see each other. So she made the decision to leave Chicken Shack in order to spend time with her new husband. After leaving Chicken Shack, the record label released a new single, and that was a cover of the Etta James song, I'd Rather Go Blind, which featured Christine on lead vocals, and it became a big hit. So after leaving Chicken Shack, she has a big hit with that band. So even though she had planned on leaving music and focusing on her marriage, the record label, based on the success of that Etta James single that they had done a cover of, the record label asked her to record a solo album. Like, hey, on your way out the door, if you don't mind, could you just make a new record for us? And she said, yeah, sure. So she recorded a new batch of songs. Most of them were originals. Some of them were covers. And that album also featured the Chicken Shack recording of I'd Rather Go Blind. Now, that single was released as a standalone, so it had never appeared on any Chicken Shack album. So to commercialize it a bit and to capitalize on its success, they included it on the record label. Included it on Christine's solo album. Christine records this album with a different set of musicians who were her backing band for the record, except for on this one song, which is a Chicken Shack song. So it's kind of a weird inclusion onto her album, but it was a way of making the album, giving it a little bit more of a push. So we are going to take a quick listen right now to that song. And so this represents both her time in Chicken Shack and her beginnings as a solo artist. This is Christine's cover of the Etta James classic, I'd Rather Go Blind.
I would rather go blind than to see you walk away from me. So you see, I love you so much, and I don't want to see you leave me, babe. But most of all, I don't want to be free.
Yes, that was Christine bringing the smoke and the heat on that Etta James classic, I'd Rather Go Blind. So after leaving Chicken Shack and after recording her solo album, she's kind of hanging around Fleetwood Mac a bit because she and John McVie are recently married. So she's kind of hanging around. So she knows the band. She's with them a lot. And she actually records some keyboard parts for their next album, Kiln House, which came out in 1970. And little known fact, the cover art is a pen and ink drawing that she had done. So she's not even an official member of the band, but she's contributing keyboard parts to the album and even contributing the cover art for the record. That's pretty incredible. It's not until the following year, 1971, that she officially joins the band. And the first album that she appears on as an official member is Future Games, 1971, which is also the first album to feature Bob Welch. Now, I know that you're familiar with Bob Welch. He was a key part of Fleetwood Mac for about 5 years and had a couple of songs that did okay on the charts, Hypnotized being one of them. And that one's one that still gets a lot of classic rock radio play to this day. And another one was Sentimental Lady. Now, that one did okay with Fleetwood Mac, but it became a monster hit after leaving Fleetwood Mac, and he records his next solo album. He has this whole string of hits, and Sentimental Lady, a new recording of that song, is one of them. It became just a huge hit. And of course, his solo career at that point is being managed by Mick Fleetwood, and members of the current Fleetwood Mac lineup all appear on his solo album. So it's very much, he's still very much part of the family. He's not in the band anymore, but they're all very involved in each other's careers. And it's really kind of cool to hear. And if you've not listened to his early solo albums, man, there are some great records with a ton of hits on them. So I would definitely recommend you checking them out. So like I said, she officially joined Fleetwood Mac in 1971. And Christine and Bob Welch play on 5 records together. And that includes Future Games, Bare Trees, which I think is one of the great Fleetwood Mac albums of all time. I absolutely love it. Penguin, Mystery to Me, and Heroes Are Hard to Find. And that last album, Heroes Are Hard to Find, Christine has, I think it's 5 songs on that album, including the title track. But also on that record is a song called Come a Little Bit Closer. And this album has sort of a grandiose nature to it. It's very filmic, very scenic, and it's a grand sweeping kind of song that I think might be my favorite Christine McVie song of all time. It's so incredible. So we're going to listen to a little bit of it right here, mostly the chorus. And so here we go.
Come a little bit closer, 'cause I remember the time when you held me in your arms. Come a little bit closer, and you wanted to be mine. Everything good, everything goes. All that's left is a sweet
Man, I love that song with some great slide guitar playing on it. It's such a cool song. And it opens with this really beautiful piano intro that's just Christine, and it doesn't really give away what that song is going to be like. At the end of that intro, the song just like kind of crashes into the main body of the song, and it's just incredible. I absolutely love it. So that was Christine with Come a Little Bit Closer from the Heroes Are Hard to Find album. Now, after that album, Bob Welch left the band, and he was replaced very famously by Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. And that new lineup releases a couple of albums, the self-titled album from 1975, which has a really puts Fleetwood Mac on the map, especially in America, with a number of big hits, two of which were Christine's. And then in 1977, they record Rumors. And of course, you know what Rumors, all about Rumors. One of the biggest selling albums of all time. So after that, though, they recorded an album called Tusk, which is a very different album from those first two from this lineup. Tusk features 6 Christine songs, and even though she is a master of, I think, perfectly crafted pop rock songs and really beautiful love ballads, she also has a darker side that doesn't come out very often, but every once in a while you get a song that's kind of on the dark side, very moody, very atmospheric. And Tusk features one of those. So we're going to listen to this song called Brown Eyes, which they played on 3 tours in a row. I never saw the band on the Tusk tour, but I did see them on the next 2, and they played Brown Eyes on both of those tours. So I got to hear it twice in person, and it was, just an amazing song. This is Brown Eyes from the Tusk album. Here we go.
Look at me with those brown eyes. What do you want to do? Do you have to have me? The way that I want you.
Man, that is such a wonderful song. It's so layered with all these different vocal parts that sort of interweave, and it's so beautiful. And it's not a song that they were ever able to do live in quite the same way, because there is so much layering and overdubbing of so many different vocal parts. Because, live, there's only 3 singers in the band, so there's only so much that they can do, but it's still such a great song, and one of the highlights, I think, of the Tusk album. And I think it shows what a great songwriter she is, that she's not only, providing so many big hits for Fleetwood Mac, but she also has all these other dimensions to her. Her songwriting reflects so many different moods. And when you think about it, like when we're talking about Rumors, one of the absolute classic Fleetwood Mac songs is Songbird, which is kind of the signature Christine song, right? It was never released as a single. there were so many singles off of the Rumors album, but Songbird was not one of them. But it becomes that iconic Fleetwood Mac song and really sums up Christine's, not only her career, but her contributions to Fleetwood Mac. And, you know, for many, many, many years, that was the closing song, the final encore of every Fleetwood Mac show. And when she came back into the band many years later, she's like, I'm not going to play that song again. I just can't play that song anymore. And they argued with her and said, please, please, please play that song. And she's like, no, I just can't do it anymore. And they're like, okay, fine. Anyway, so we're going to take a quick break right now because we're about halfway through the show. We're going to take a quick break to play an ad for one of the other shows on our network. Don't go anywhere because in 30 seconds, we're going to be back with some more Christine McVie music. So stick around.
DragonCon is calling, and we're your inside line to the con. Tune in to the DragonCon Report, where we dive headfirst into the personalities and behind-the-scenes stories that bring our beloved con to life, talking with track directors, creators, and more. From panels to performers and cosplay to cocktails, if it's happening at con, we're talking about it. Join us when we live stream, or catch the audio version later wherever you get your podcasts. The DragonCon Report, your home away from con.
All right, welcome back. Thanks so much for sticking around. That means you probably do love Christine as much as I do, and I'm glad to hear that. So in 1984, Fleetwood Mac is on a little bit of a break. They've recorded, after Tusk, they recorded an album called Mirage, which had a number of big hits on it. And the band kind of takes a little bit of a break. They end up having a 5-year break from that point. And we get a lot of big solo albums from Lindsay and Stevie, but also from Christine McVie, because in 1984, she records another solo album. And this one, like her first one, is a self-titled album. The first one was called Christine Perfect. This one is called Christine McVie. And she scored a big hit on from that album with Got a Hold on Me, which I know you've heard a million times. So we're not going to take a listen to that one. We're going to listen to the opening track on that really excellent album. And this is called Love Will Show Us How. And it's got a long chorus. So we're only going to hear about half of it because I do try to keep these clips to about 30, 40 seconds or so. So we're going to hear a little bit of Love Will Show Us How from Christine's 1984 solo album. Here we go.
I don't know how love will survive, but it's all right for now. Still I believe love will show us how. There must be a way to keep it alive.
There you go. That was Love Will Show Us How, the opening track to the 1984 Christine McVie album, which is a really good album and features some guest appearances from people like Steve Winwood and things like that. It's an excellent record. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. It's really, really great. So back to Fleetwood Mac a little bit. After the Tusk album and Mirage in 1987, the band reforms to record Tango in the Night, which it's another huge success for the band. And that's where Christine's songs, Little Lies and Everywhere, come from. They were two monster hits for the band. But after that, like literally as soon as Tango is finished recording, Lindsay hits the road. He's out of here. Now, Tango was originally, that was Lindsay working on his next solo album. And then the band gets back together and wants to record a new album. So he basically sacrifices all the stuff that he was working on for his next solo album to become the new Fleetwood Mac album, Tango in the Night. And as soon as it's done, he's like, all right, I'm out of here. And the band replaces him with Rick Vito and Billy Burnett. The next album that the band records with that lineup, that new lineup, is called Behind the Mask in 1990. And it's a pretty decent record. I don't think the production is very great, but musically, I think it's really good. And Christine has a hit or two on it and also provides the title song. And this is another one of her darker, moodier tracks, which I really love. And even though Lindsay is out of the band at this point, fun fact, he does play acoustic guitar on this track. So this is the title track from the Behind the Mask album. Here we go.
Than it ever did before. So does the skies into the land, and I recognize the face behind the mask. So does the sky into the land. I don't know if I want you back.
All right, that was Christine with Behind the Mask, the title song from Fleetwood Mac's 1990 album. So after that, Mac went through a bit of a, like kind of a period. Oh, I think you can hear the thunder behind me. So I will finish this episode as long as my electricity doesn't go out. Anyway, Mac went through a period of turmoil after that with some lineup changes galore. And in 1993, the band reforms briefly with that classic 70s, late 70s lineup to play President Clinton's inauguration. In 1995, the band records an album called Time. Now, Christine is still nominally in the band at this time. Lindsay and Stevie have already, made their exits. But the band at this point is Christine with Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Billy Burnett, Becca Bramlett on vocals, and the legendary Dave Mason, who provides a couple of really great tracks on that album. I Wonder Why is my favorite of his ones from the Time album. After that, Christine leaves also. So the band is kind of in limbo for a while. That lineup does do a tour for the Time album without Christine. The band, that classic lineup of the band, reforms in the early 2000s with Lindsay and Stevie. However, Christine has been in retirement for a while and just isn't interested in coming out of retirement. So Fleetwood Mac, as a 4-member band, records their next album, Say You Will, in 2003. And it's a really, really decent album. And it's got some strong material from both Lindsay and Stevie. But I really think you definitely feel the lack of Christine's presence on that album. It's overly long. So I think that both Lindsay and Stevie have something like 11 songs each on that song. It's so long. And without that balance of having Lindsay and Stevie and Christine, I think that the band feels a little like it's lacking something, even though, like I said, the material from the two main songwriters is really good in most cases. You can't help but miss Christine. Now, when they did the tour for that album with some extra musicians to back up the band, Christine sort of comes out of retirement for a moment to make a guest appearance when the band plays, I think it was Wembley in London. And the audience reaction to her coming back on stage was just like thunderous, like what you hear outside my window. And the following year, she officially rejoins Fleetwood Mac, and they do another big tour with Christine, and that was in 2004. And I saw them again on that tour. And, at this point, ticket prices have gotten so expensive. I've kind of gotten out of the habit of seeing big bands in big venues like arenas or whatever because of the cost. But I was like, I cannot miss Fleetwood Mac with Christine back in the band. So my partner got me tickets for my birthday, and I was just completely blown away. And it was really a fantastic show. And it was so great to see Chris back on stage with her bandmates and with them welcoming her so warmly back into the band, because they always loved Christine and they always had the door open for if she ever wanted to return, please just walk right on in. And she did. And that tour was a huge success. So, the band carries on a little bit here and there, and Christine very sadly passes away in 2022, which is so sad. And that's kind of going to be about it for us this time. I really do appreciate you listening and hanging out with me for this half hour. I hope you enjoy listening to some of these amazing songs And I hope you'll join me again for my next episode when we highlight some great single B-sides. I'm really excited to play some of those things for you. Until then, Modern Musicology will be back, and we have a very special episode coming next week that's going to be highlighting a brand new project from our co-host, Stephanie Seymour. You do not want to miss that. I'm excited to share this with you. So I appreciate you listening this week. Thank you for letting me share my love of Christine McVie with you. To play us out, I've got one more Christine song, though. In 2007, part of that lineup weirdness that was going on in that nebulous time, Fleetwood Mac is ready to record a new album. However, Stevie wasn't really interested. She didn't want to, she had other things going on. She had a solo record. She was doing a tour. She was doing some other stuff, and she just didn't want to take time away from that to do a new Fleetwood Mac record. The others are ready to go, though. So what they did instead is another 4-member recording. This time it was billed as a Christine and Lindsay duo album. The difference here is that when the band did Say You Will without Christine, Christine was not a member of the band. She had retired from music. She had retired from Fleetwood Mac. So Fleetwood Mac at that point was officially a 4-member band. In 2017, they're technically a 5-member band, but one of those members is sort of taking a little break. So instead of calling this, I mean, this album is a Fleetwood Mac album in everything but name. But since Stevie's not there, they bill it as a Christine and Lindsay duo album. And it's really good. It's a really strong record. I think it is, to me, I just consider it as part of the Fleetwood Mac canon. And the song that was not released as a single, which is a stupid move on the part of the record label, I think. I mean, there were some good singles from that album, but I really think that this Christine song called Red Sun should have been a single. So we're going to listen to that as we play out. And again, I just want to thank you for listening. Modern Musicology will be here next week. So everybody take care. Have a great week. Keep rocking on. And to play us out, one more Christine McVie song. This is Red Sun from the Lindsey Buckingham, Christine McVie album. Everybody take care.
As I walk along the shore, you took your love away from me when I only wanted more. Sometimes I wonder, do you ever think of me? And it's worse for me at night, you know, when the red sun kisses the sea. Slowly.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.